So our CoverSeal PEN 55 is a specially formulated penetrating sealer for concrete and for concrete pavers. It is designed to penetrate into the surface and resist not only water but also oil and food-based stains. We use micro or nanotechnology to allow us to get into the micropores of that concrete, into the capillaries, and seal or block off any solutions or fluids or stains that might want to get into that concrete surface. It's designed not to change the appearance of the concrete. It's a penetrating sealer, so it doesn't leave a film on the surface. It doesn't change the appearance. It is extremely water repellent and oil and stain repellent. So CoverSeal PEN 55 is used predominantly for sealing concrete and concrete pavers, and also exterior use. That's one of its main applications. Anywhere where you want to protect the concrete surface from oil stains, from food-based stains, and also protect it against water moisture. In the home, outside the home, it could be your driveway, your patio, your pool deck, your barbecue area. And then commercial applications, a lot of times it's used on new construction, for example, parking decks, drive-throughs, pavers leading into buildings like condominiums, restaurants, drive-through areas, bank drive-through areas. Again, a big emphasis on new construction where you've installed your driveway or your parking deck or your concrete area, and you want to protect it against the oil and the stains. In other words, protect it before it gets dirty. It doesn't change the appearance, so if you want to keep that natural look on your concrete, on your pavers, that's another great application. It's absolutely a very good idea to seal pavers and a concrete surface. You need to protect that surface from being damaged, from being stained, and to make it easier for you to keep it clean and to maintain it. If you don't, for example, if you have a new concrete, very quickly, if it's driven over, you're going to get oil stains from leaking vehicles. If you don't protect it from moisture getting into that concrete, that can, in warmer climates, you get mold and mildew issues. In the colder climates, that water will freeze and expand and crack and damage the surface. So that's going to lead to a lot of costly repairs, earlier repairs and replacements, and then also increased maintenance costs as you have to spend more time and money cleaning off mold and mildew. It's also, as far as keeping the look and the appearance, again, it's important or highly recommend that you seal. That way, solutions and stains can't get into the surface. They sit on the top. We call it holdout. It holds off those, holds out those contaminants getting into the pavers or into the concrete and gives you time to clean it and maintain it. So absolutely, we would recommend that you always seal concrete pavers and concrete surfaces. So why do we seal pavers and concrete? Well, there's really three reasons, and they're interrelated. The first point is to protect the pavers, right? To make sure that they're not damaged by the contaminants that possibly can get into the paver or into the concrete. The second reason is to make it easier to clean. Again, keeping out or holding off those contaminants so you have time to clean it. And the third reason is really about looks and beautification, right? If those pavers don't get soiled, don't get dirty, don't get stained, then you have a much better looking surface. You keep the mold out, you keep the anthills off, right? You keep that dirt and the staining from oil or from food-based stains out of the surface. So protection, cleaning and maintenance, and also beautification. That's the three reasons we want to seal a paver. Okay, the benefits of sealing pavers, really three benefits. First of all, you're protecting the surface. You're protecting it from being stained. You're protecting it from water getting into the surface and freezing and expanding and damaging, or water getting into the surface and providing an environment for things like mold and mildew. Okay, so protection. Second one is about cleaning and maintenance. It's all related. We're sealing the paver so it holds off dirt and debris and staining solutions getting into the paver. So it makes it much easier to clean if those materials are sitting on the surface and we can just brush them off or pressure wash them or hose them off. And then the last reason we're sealing is around keeping the pavers and the concrete looking pristine, looking beautifying. These are all interrelated, but there's the real reasons we're doing it. Protection, ease of cleaning and maintenance, and also to beautify or to maintain the beauty of our paver surface. So will pavers or sealing pavers prevent weeds? Actually, it does. Sealing will do a good job. There's a couple of ways to tackle it. You have what we call penetrating sealers, like the PEN 55. Its main function is to soak into the paver itself and protect that. If you have sand between those pavers, you want to be using what's called polymetric sand. That has a polymer in it, so that'll do the job of preventing the weed growth through the sand. And the PEN 55 will prevent anything coming up through the paver itself. As far as if you're using regular sand, then I would recommend using what we call a topical sealer, something like our Strong Seal Wet Look. That has a polymer solution that will soak into the paver and the sand, lock everything together, and prevent weed and ant hills in that manner as well. So what should you seal concrete pavers with? Well, a couple of considerations. The first thing is about what are you trying to protect against? Are you trying to protect predominantly just water, moisture ingress, or are you trying to prevent staining from oil or food-based type contaminants? If the answer, if it's just water, then you can use penetrating sealer like our PEN 50, very moisture resistant, extremely resistant to water, or you can use a topical sealer like our Strong Seal Wet Look. If it's oil and food-based contaminants, you want to use a product that's oil resistant as well as water resistant. So we'd recommend our PEN 55. Okay, and then the choice is whether you want to change the appearance of your concrete or your pavers. Maybe you want to enhance it or bring out some sheen. If you don't want to change the appearance at all, you want a natural look, then you'd go for the PEN 55. If you're looking to bring out some sheen and color, then you'd go for our Strong Seal Wet Look. Both of those products are oil and stain resistant. The Strong Seal Wet Look is topical. The PEN 55 is penetrating, no change. So just to recap, ask yourself what you're trying to protect against, whether it's water only or oil and water. And the second choice is, do you want to change the appearance or do you want to remain the same? If you want to change the appearance, use a topical sealer. If you want to remain or keep the same appearance, use the PEN 55. What should a consumer look for or a contractor look for when deciding on which type of paver sealer or concrete sealer? Well, the first choice is around whether you want to change the appearance of the surface or not. If you don't want to change the appearance, you should be looking for a penetrating sealer. If you're looking to enhance or bring some gloss or sheen, then you should be looking for a topical sealer. The next thing really then is to focus on the type of sealer itself. So if we're going down the penetrating sealer road, then you should be looking for something that contains a fluorochemical, particularly if you want oil and stain resistant. Okay? Has to have a fluoropolymer or a fluorochemical to resist hydrocarbons, petroleum-based, fat, oil, and grease. So that's an important distinction when looking at penetrating sealers. I'd also recommend using water-based as opposed to solvent-based. These are much less water-based sealers like our PEN 55 fluoropolymer. Fluorochemical is not moisture sensitive, or less moisture sensitive than a solvent-based would be. There's no odor, there's no flammability issues. So I would point you towards more of a water-based sealer. When it comes to topical sealers, same choice. I would be looking for a water-based product as opposed to a solvent-based. Again, because these products are easier to use, they're less moisture sensitive, less hazardous. And then I'd be looking for a polyurethane-based or water-based sealer like our Strong Seal Wet Look. Polyurethanes are much tougher, they're much more durable and stain and chemical resistant than an acrylic would be. So in summary, make sure that they're water-based. If they're penetrating, look for a fluorochemical. If they're topical, look for a water-based polyurethane. So how long should a paver sealer last? That's a good question that has a couple of answers. Obviously, the quality of the paver sealer that you use and the chemical makeup will make a big difference in that case. For example, a polyurethane 2-part water-based sealer like our Strong Seal Wet Look will last 2 to 3 years in a very aggressive, very sunny environment or extreme weather environment like in Florida, or in an area where we have a lot of freeze-thaw. These tougher chemicals will hold up longer than, say, an acrylic, a 1-part solvent or water-based acrylic. When it comes to penetrating sealers, again, it depends on the quality of the sealer itself, how many, or the active solids. If there's a higher active solid, they're going to hold out, they're going to last longer in that concrete and on that surface than a one that doesn't have a high degree of active solids or doesn't use something like a fluorochemical. So our PEN 55 typically will last 2 to 3 years. It has a higher active solids content compared to a lot of the water-based silane, siloxane sealers that are out there. So what is the best type of concrete paver sealer? Well, there's a couple of considerations there. First of all, really you want to get a sealer that's not only water resistant but also oil and chemical resistant. Right? These types of sealers will protect against not only water getting into the concrete or into the paver, but they'll protect against staining, protect against oil stains, food-based stains, chemical attack. The next thing you want to think about is whether you need to or want to change the appearance of the paver. If you don't want to change an appearance, then you want to go for a penetrating sealer. If you want to change the appearance, if you want to have gloss or sheen, then you need to go for a film forming. The best film forming sealers are polyurethanes, water-based polyurethanes. They're not moisture sensitive. They hold up much longer against the elements, whether it's freeze-thaw or whether it's sun and high temperatures. They're also not moisture sensitive, so they won't milk, they won't go white if there's moisture in the ground or in the concrete. As far as penetrating sealers, the advantage there is that they don't lift or peel, they penetrate the surface, and protect the paver from chemicals and solutions getting down into that paver. I would go with a fluorochemical or a fluoropolymer. Look for that when you're trying to choose a penetrating sealer. That will mean that it will resist not only water, but also oil and food-based stains. Something like our PEN 55 is a water-based fluorochemical that is highly oil and stain resistant as well as water resistant. So how long should you wait to seal pavers? Well, one of the advantages of using a water-based sealer is that the paver doesn't have to be totally dry. I think it's important to at least have the surface dry so that the paver can soak into the surface, into the capillaries, into the pores of the concrete. So at least the surface should be dry. That's typically 4 or 5 hours. We do have moisture insensitive products like the Strong Seal Wet Look that can be used after you pressure wash, as long as the pavers aren't puddled, the water is not sitting on the surface, you can seal. But my advice is to let the surface dry out so that you can get better absorption of the seal. So how do you clean concrete pavers before you seal them? Well, a good first step is to use a cleaning chemical, something that will get the dirt and any oil contaminants or grease type contaminants off the surface. Something like our CT50, that's a good cleaner. It's very powerful cleaner. It's a concentrate which you dilute, and you can scrub it. You dilute with clean and warm water, and you can scrub it into the surface and then pressure wash or rinse it off. So that's a good first choice. If you have contaminants like cement or efflorescent that are actually sitting on the surface of those pavers, then you need to use something that has an acidic characteristic to it. Something like our pre-treat, for example, which will lightly etch the surface and remove those stains, those cement-based stains, those salt-based stains. So CT50 for cleaning oil, grease, mold and mildew. If you've got cement-based stains, efflorescence, things like that, then I would recommend our pre-treat. Is the typical off-the-shelf paver slippery? If you're talking about a film-forming sealer like an acrylic or a solvent-based acrylic that you can buy off the shelf, then there is potential for that to be slippery. It will leave a film on the surface that is pretty slick, and if there's water around, you can slip. If you're going to avoid that, you can use a penetrating sealer, something like our PEN 55 or our PEN 50, that will soak into the paver, and it won't leave or won't change the characteristics of the surface of the paver. The other option is to use something like our Strong Seal Wet Look, which is a concentrate that you dilute, and that soaks in and leaves a very thin film, and you can actually add our cover grip into that in order to increase the surface traction or increase the slip resistance of the surface. So you should always seal pavers after you've applied your polymetric sand and given that time to react and lock together. It's activated using water, so let that do its thing depending on the manufacturer. Normally it's 3 to 4 hours, but I normally recommend you wait until the next day, and then you can seal using either a penetrating sealer like PEN 55 or PEN 50, or you can use the Strong Seal Wet Look, which is a concentrate that you dilute, and again you would apply that after you've installed the sand, the polymetric sand, swept off or brushed off any excess, and then you seal.